What's our first topic?
That's a good question, Steve.
Lawsuits or noobs?
Let's do noobs. I think that's
noobs. All right. Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, Steve?
Oh, wait, we got to do the intro first.
Hi, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Steve, and this is 60 Second Hum, the guitar buying, selling, trading, fixing, modding, breaking, reviewing, playing podcast. If you like the way that I just said that, you can check out the link to our Teespring store, and you can buy a shirt that says that message on it, just like the one I'm wearing right now.
It says all those words on a shirt. Yeah. Finally, you can wear those words on a shirt.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah?
Show me your noobs.
You want to see my noobs?
Show me.
Here in the podcast, you want to take a look at my noobs.
Yeah. What?
Donald Strayton asks, how can a noob try out a guitar in a guitar store without feeling like a complete asshat? I think this is a fun question. I think it's easy to feel intimidated when you're new to guitar, like trying to try out a guitar in a store. Mm-hmm. And it can be intimidating because there's this, thought that everyone else in the store is going to either judge you or be like, oh, really? They're playing that?
Yeah.
I think my initial reaction to this is most guitar store employees, like forget everyone else in the store, just the guitar store employees would much rather hear someone not knowing how to play than someone who comes in and just shreds, because they're sick of the person that comes in and just shreds.
Okay, would you rather, if you're in a music store, would you rather hear somebody who comes in and goes into, I don't know, what section should we talk about? Pick a section of the
just
guitar
the amp
store.
section.
The amp section. So electric guitars, they pick up their Strat HSS Strat off the wall and they go into Eruption and they smash it, kill it note for note.
Yeah. Eruption
intro. Would you rather hear that, or would you rather hear the guy who comes in and he pulls a BC Rich Platinum off the wall and he plugs it in and then he goes pink pink dur ner 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 ner. Are
you doing Smoke on the Water?
No, I'm doing a
I don't know what you're doing right now.
It's Metallica.
Oh, okay. You're doing Metallica.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That one.
Gotcha.
That is like the real, like the noob version of it.
I'd think that if I was a guitar store employee, especially if I'm working on commission, if I'm hearing a noob play, someone who doesn't sound like they know what they're doing, what I'm actually hearing is the cash register. Exactly. Where, every guitar store employee knows the guy that comes in after work on his way home just to shred every other day. And that person is just a waste of time. They're like, he's not good.
Oh, wait. That's the one I wanted.
Oh my gosh. They know that guy's not going to buy anything. He's just kicking the tires. He's just, thank you. He's just filling his time.
Yeah.
They would much rather hear someone that's like, okay, that person is ready to be taken advantage of. Hey, sounds like you're well on your way. Can I recommend some gear to you? Oh, it sounds like you need a new strap.
Sounds like you're well on your way. Have you ever thought about buying a Squier SP10 Strat pack?
But also, I think guitar store employees are probably just bored of like the guys that just, anyone that comes in and just rips it and just plays and plays and plays. Like they don't care. They're jaded. They don't care how people play anymore. They're probably refreshed when someone comes in and just kind of fiddles around, and it can just be background noise where they're like not listening to a song. As far as like what it means for you, like any embarrassment aside, like what you should be doing when you're shopping.
Right.
Just feel for whatever guitar feels or looks fun to you. Any measurement of fun is really all you're looking for.
Chill out, man. Jeez.
Like it doesn't, This doesn't have to be life or death. Like if you're brand new to playing, if you're a noob and you're looking at instruments that will financially devastate you, don't do that. Don't buy an instrument that you can't really afford. Like, I'm not a big fan of them, but like, have Dave Ramsey in your head. When you're shopping for your first guitars and stuff, like, you don't need to start out with anything super expensive. You don't need to really worry about like,
I don't know if
making sure you're buying the most critical, like, important piece of gear.
Depending on what baby step you're on, though, Ryan, you might be going in and being like, I've lived like no one else for the last 30 years, and today I'm going to buy a guitar like no one else. And you're just like, yes, I would like to buy that PRS. It's the guy who just finished butchering Metallica.
Hey,
and now he's going in to buy a PRS 10 top, and the salesman says, "Oh, would you like to open a line of credit?" And you just go, "See, $30,000 cash, baby."
If you have the cash to throw around, and that's how you have your fun, do whatever you want. I'm just saying, noobs, don't open a credit card. Don't put yourself in debt.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what you like in a guitar yet, so don't throw big money at it yet. Find a guitar that you can afford that you like. That's all it is. You don't have to worry. It's not like a wine tasting thing where you need to know how to pick out the notes of raspberry and black pepper.
I'm looking
in this guitar you're trying.
I'm looking around the room and I noticed who's the current king of the Afforda Strat?
Right now it's the ERT.
It is the ERT.
It's up in my office.
Ah,
yeah.
Too cool for the podcast.
$200. I can fully recommend the ERT for new players. $200. I think it's a great guitar for new players. I wish I could go back in time and give myself a guitar like that when I started.
If you
out.
were cruising Craigslist and you see an ERT on your local Craigslist, you just need to be like,
yeah,
all over.
So don't worry. Go into a guitar store, play whatever you play at home, no matter how sloppy it is. No matter how embarrassing you think it is. No one who works there cares. Anyone who's there who does care doesn't matter. And just find a guitar that brings some measure of joy to you. And that should be your shopping experience, whether it's the way it looks, the way it feels, the way it sounds. That's all you really need to care about. And you'll figure out all the specifics that you care about later. The vast majority of guitars out there are adjustable and upgradable. You can have them, fixed to play better than they played when you bought them and stuff like that. So it's not critical. It shouldn't be scary. Just go for it. Yeah. Have fun.
Go do it.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add? I kind of ranted there. I kind of just, Steve poked me with a stick and I just went full speed through that.
Is that what just happened?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think you pretty much summed it up. Like, just relax.
Right.
Don't try to do. I think the hardest thing when you go into a shop is trying to prevent yourself from doing more than you're actually capable of.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Don't show off. Like, if you know 2 chords, play those 2 chords. Like, if you want to try something stupid and obnoxious, go for it. Like I spent a lot of time in guitar shops when I was young and inexperienced. It's like, I want to try a guitar that's got a lot of distortion. So I'd sit, I want to try an amp that's got a lot of distortion. So I'd sit and I'd plug into some Mesa Boogie and I'd turn the distortion all the way up and I'd mess around with it. There was no, internet videos back then to like see what things sounded like. So you had to go demo it yourself. Like I would sit there with the big display of Boss pedals and go one by one through every pedal. And I'm sure it was super annoying to anyone that was around, but I wanted to try them all. And it's fine. Like, just try everything.
You should do it like a library hold system where it's like you go in there and if anytime the store guy comes over and is like, "Yo, you need some help, you should just hand them like whatever your form of payment is and be like, "Just hold on to this and I'll let you know when I'm ready for you to run it." Like until like this, like it's like your library card. Like,
right.
I'm checking these out. You hold on to my collateral. I'm just going to check these out over here for a while.
Right.
You relax.
That would be a baller move. To walk into a guitar shop, slide your card across the counter and be like, "I'll let you know when to add stuff." And you try things out and you like look across and you make eye contact and you're like, "Yeah, add this to my tab." And you just start making a pile of stuff.
You're just like, "I'm going to buy something. I don't know what. So just chill out."
Steve has made a Steve drink tonight, guys.
Not that, Steve.
It's pretty
There's
Steve.
not even any beer in it.
He combined a coffee liqueur that I have with a peanut butter whiskey that I have.
But like, I only put like a touch of peanut butter whiskey because I didn't want to kill your bottle. I probably just should have.
You should have killed my bottle. every now
I'll be
and then,
back.
every now and then, I take a sip of that peanut butter whiskey, and I'm like, that's pretty rich.
Oh man,
I like peanut butter and I like whiskey, but I can handle having them separate. All right, do we want to move on to this ad?
Let's hit this ad. This is sent by Steven Reynolds. It's a screenshot from a Facebook group. It says, "Can anyone help me? What kind of Squier is this? 22 fret scale. When I took the acoustic bridge and pickguard off, it's routed HSH and has the traditional 6-screw Strat vibrato bridge system. Thought it was a bullet until I took it apart. Thanks for your help."
I have no idea what it is, but I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh my gosh, there it is. It's a prototype Squier Acoustasonic.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I don't know what they want for it. I don't know what they paid for it, but
This has got to be worth at least $4,000.
it honestly doesn't look that bad. It kind of works. I wonder if the saddle placement on the bridge is correct for intonation. It looks like it might be close.
Pretty close. It does not look like pancakes.
No, this is a red Strat with mismatched plastics. You got some cream, you got some whites.
Yeah.
It's all aged. The body has some dings and dents. But I kind of admire this. Someone took an acoustic bridge and they used wood screws to attach it to the body, suspended over the route for the trim. Mm-hmm. And you know what? If they had cut a new pickguard that didn't have the gap for the bridge,
Oh, it'd really work.
it would look intentional. Almost, if it didn't have the wood screws on either side of the bridge, it would look somewhat intentional. I don't know. I'm kind of into it in a weird way.
Yeah, I feel like there is a guitar that was a real build like this.
There has been real guitars that have there have been real electric guitars that have acoustic bridges on them.
Yeah.
Of course, there's all kinds of acoustic bridges with acoustic guitars attached.
No one has ever made an acoustic guitar with an acoustic bridge. This is completely novel.
This is groundbreaking.
Unbelievable.
I'm waiting for the day when we've got acoustic guitars with electric bridges on them.
What?
Yeah, you put a hardtail Strat bridge on an acoustic, finally things make sense. It actually would be kind of neat. You set the intonation and the action on an acoustic guitar with an electric bridge. Is there any reason why it wouldn't work outside of just tradition?
With an electric bridge. Well, I mean, are you thinking like Tunematic?
No, I'm thinking like a Strat hardtail.
Well, you just need like, Strat hardtail.
It seems like it's got enough contact with the top of the wood that it would be able to transfer some vibration.
I mean, I think it's all about that thickness. Like you need some kind of center block reinforcement where the bridge is, because like
of course, yeah of course. Well, what if it was just on a bigger metal plate?
I guess if it was like a hardtail, you could maybe just glue that down.
No, like if the hardtail metal plate was bigger,
right,
to give you more surface area for glue. Like, is there any reason it wouldn't work? Are you really relying on the material of the bridge being, a bone saddle mounted in a chunk of wood? Does it matter? Like my old Honer was an acoustic saddle inside of a little metal tray that you could raise and lower with screws.
Yeah.
So technically, it wasn't really even reliant on the wood piece that was around it for contact with the guitar.
An electric guitar.
That's basically a Tunematic, if you think about it. Maybe we should see acoustic guitars with electric bridges on them.
Somebody tell us why this idea is dumb.
Well, I'm sure like all the cork sniffers out there will be like, oh, well, it just doesn't transfer the energy the same, blah, blah, blah.
I'm sure
But what if it was fine? Like not exactly what the cork sniffers want, but what if it was fine?
Well, it'd kind of be like that Gretsch cowboy model or the Ranger.
Right.
Where it's got like the Bigsby on it. There's a few companies.
But it still had an acoustic saddle on it. But you think about jazz guitars where they have either like a wood style variation of what is basically a tune-o-matic, or they can have tune-o-matics on them, or they can have like a Bixby Sorkin style bridge on them. But the jazz guitars typically don't project as much as a Dreadnought style acoustic.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's more function of the construction of the body than the bridge.
Maybe. It could also be like if they're using acoustic strings versus electric strings. Like if they're using like a thinner steel or a nickel string.
Right. Well, those jazz boxes use flat ones and stuff, which, don't project as well as like a bronze string.
Right.
I mean, they sound smooth and dark and jazzy, but they don't have that bright cut that a bronze string has.
I really I don't like that it's white, that it's mismatched per se.
I don't mind that.
But
I admire this.
It needs a 3-ply pick guard.
Do you have any?
It would be worth something.
Do you have any idea, what this guy's asking, what this guitar actually is?
Well, I feel like it's obviously a joke that he's asking it.
Oh, okay.
He says it's not a bullet, but I don't know why it's not a bullet. I don't see why this wouldn't be a bullet or an Affinity.
I mean, my vibe is it's something early Korean.
Yeah.
Or Indonesian.
It's that 1-ply pick guard. I can't remember which Squiers have those.
Something about the way the red paint is dinged too. You know what I mean? I feel like I can get a sense of the texture of that paint, the feel of that paint just by looking at how it's dinged and scratched. It's that thick poly.
Last week we had Law and Order Trademark Victims Unit, and this week we have CSI guitar paint.
I also like that they put the screws back in the screw holes for the bridge underneath the strings, just so that there weren't open holes in the wood.
Right. What are they using for the string posts? Are those teeth?
I think they're just some kind of. Oh man, I don't know.
I think those are teeth.
I think they can't be teeth.
They're like raccoon penises, maybe.
Oh my gosh, shut up. I have a feeling they're just like mangled end pins.
They're pretty rough. That's all I know.
Yeah. I mean, this guitar has seen some things. It needs to be retired into a very peaceful pasture. It needs to be taken to the guitar farm.
Guitar farm and shot.
Don't worry, honey. We're going to take the guitar to the guitar farm, and he's going to get to run around and play with all the other guitars, and they're going to be so happy. You figure out later when you're an adult. I think my parents just killed that guitar.
I think my parents just took that guitar out in the canyon and shot it. I think my parents just hit that guitar with a shovel while it was sleeping.
Oh my gosh, it's so dark.
I think my parents just put a lot of Tylenol in that guitar's food.
So we didn't discuss this before hitting record. Do either of us have anything new?
Yeah, but first we have to talk about our first sponsor, Big Ear Pedals.
They make the loaf. They make the Albee. They make all kinds of pedals, guys. They've been making a lot of Albees, though. Every time I look at their Instagram, it's just piles of Albees they're putting together.
Albees. They're doing some cool colorways. They're kind of doing the limited colors. They've done, I think, 3 limited versions of the Albee now.
I say, why not just keep doing new colors? If you're making the pedals, why not just keep doing new colors every single time?
Just do all the colors.
Do all the colors. And people just be like, oh, man, I'm really waiting for a red one. And then the red ones come out. They're like, oh, yeah, now I can get a red one, Yep. But the Albee has quickly become a fan favorite. If you want to add modulation, delay, reverb to your signal without having to think about it too hard, you're just like, I just need just this ambient sort of sound.
Yeah.
The Albee is a great pedal to go for.
I've been using it on bass for certain songs. It's really funny because I don't remember. I want to say it's setting 4, but it's the super Neil mode setting 4. There's some funky detuned pads going on, and so they kind of weave in and out of the pad tone that's just running in our multi-tracks
Yeah,
with the church, like our backing track, and it's just like weaving in and out of it, and I'm always like, is that the track or is that the Albie? And I'm like, oh, that's the Albie.
That's
cool.
the Albie.
That's
there
the
it
Albie.
is. I can hear it.
Yep.
Yeah. So huge thanks to Big Ear Pedals for once again sponsoring the show that you love. Go check them out with the link down below. All right, what's new, Steve?
I got some what's new. You ready
I'm
to hear my what's
surprised,
new, man.
I'm surprised you have some what's new.
I couldn't remember it from last episode.
Well, here we go.
I sold that Strat.
Oh, you
I
did!
sold that Strat.
Congratulations, Steve.
Yeah. There was a guy on Marketplace who just reached out, and so I sold it at the price I was asking, $700.
And it was local. You sold it
and
local.
it was local, and this Acoustasonic Acoustasonic prototype made me think of it because of those the kind of the mismatched colors on there. Because I posted on Instagram a while ago. I threw on some like super aged like 80s Japanese hardware, like super like coffee brown aging going on. I don't know how it got that way, but I know like they were pickup covers where basically like if you were to tighten them all the way down, you'd actually raise them out far enough that it would be white again. So it's only like the part above the surface,
right? Totally.
That was like super like this deep amber color.
Had a farmer's tan.
Yeah. I really, I threw those on there, and as soon as I did it, I was like, this looks so good that like I have to leave this on here, but I'm kind of bummed.
Right. That you can't keep them for yourself some project guitar that you don't even have right now.
I think actually, well, like my Strat has pretty aged hardware on it. So, but yeah, I sold that thing. I need to sell some more stuff. I need to whittle some things down. I need to figure out my pedal board situation. But, these are all things that I'll do someday.
I don't have anything new, I don't think. I mean, I could talk about the Spark.
Oh my gosh.
That was like a week and a half ago.
There's so many comments on that.
Yeah. Well, it's just become a place for people to talk about their own experiences with the Spark.
Well, that's how YouTube should be.
It is how it should be.
People talking about their own experiences and everyone saying, this was my experience. What was your experience? And not people being like, oh, that was your experience. That's because you're an idiot.
Yeah, it has been interesting. I still feel really good about my decision to not accept their sponsorship for the podcast.
Oh, speaking of which, this episode is brought to you by...
Steve has decided that he is going to accept the sponsorship, and only the portions he speaks on the show will be sponsored by Positive Good because he wants that money. But I think, a week and a half later is when this is going to air. My kind of final thoughts on it is that there's been a lot of people commenting, a certain segment of people commenting on that video saying that they really enjoy it and that, they enjoyed it more after making modifications to it. Some people have shoved socks inside of it to soak up some of that low end.
Yeah,
some people have put spray foam inside of their Sparks to soak up some of that low end. And after doing these things, like I really, really like it. That doesn't change my resolve. It's still like it would require for me to promote a product that needs tampering to theoretically sound better.
Yeah.
And it's like that doesn't sell it, guys. Like, I think it's fine if you found solutions for the product that you own, that you purchased, but I
feel like
I can't bring myself to promote it.
I feel like buying a brand new amp, or a lightly used, but basically paying full price for an amp, and then like shoving socks in it because it's got too much of a whatever, is worse than like buying an old like Crate GX30 or like GX212 or whatever, big old solid state amp.
Right.
And being like, man, this sucks. And then razor blading the speakers and be like, okay, this is cool now. Like when you buy something that's new or near new that has a lot of hype, like you want it to do what you want it to do pretty much out of the box. Mangling like an old Crate amp is whatever, and it's got its own kind of like weird coolness to it that like putting insulating foam into a bass port because you have too much low end on a brand new product. You know, from watching your video, I thought the Spark has a lot of cool features in it in terms of like its app integration. And I don't know, maybe other apps have, you know, we were promoting the toolkit, which kind of had similar things going on. The Spark software seems like it's more advanced than that. And I know that was like a big selling point for a lot of it. Is like, oh, you get this amp and you get this like this cool software package too. So you're not really just paying $250 for an amp. You're paying $250 for an amp plus all this other stuff. And it's like, I get it, but at its core, like if you don't, I get where you're coming from. Like it's hard to be like, oh, this is a cool product when you're like, well, it's got some cool features, but the base product, it's like
it didn't sound good to me.
Yeah. Oh, I got this brand new guitar. It makes a really cool sitar sound, but it doesn't make any good guitar sounds.
That's the opposite of like, oh, this would be a good slide guitar. It's like, oh, this is a good sitar. That means the strings are completely laying across the fretboard.
Or yeah, like, oh, this would make a good slide guitar. And it's like,
yeah, but there's like a difference between this amp sounding so muddy that it's unpleasant to me. Like I didn't once feel like I was having a good time playing it, and I played it for like 4 hours to record this freaking video versus like I do this all the time. I get a guitar in, I go, hey, like I just got that Gretchen. Like the second or third video I did with it, I'm changing the spring on the Bigsby.
Right.
Like that's a different thing because it's chasing down preferences, where the Spark amp is like, yeah, I could make modifications to it to try to address these issues, but that's because it's starting out objectively so far away from sounding good.
Yeah.
Like that's a totally different concept. So I've been spending more time than I should thinking about this thing. It's, you know, it's one of those things where guitar YouTubers get accused a lot of like giving things positive reviews that don't deserve it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But then when we actually are faced with a product that like we could make money on, but it's like, I can't get behind this. Like there's a different kind of backlash against that.
Right.
And it's like, and well, like the thinking that I have to do on my side is like way deeper than I would wish to think.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times it really depends on,
because the vast majority of products are like, it's just subjective. You like it or you don't. Like, I feel like the issue with the Spark is not subjective, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people come to its defense because they own one, but it is interesting the number of and I know your kind of rule of thumb is always like you buy something and you're going to sit on it for like 6 months one way or another, but the number of, you know, demo artists or otherwise who got a Spark and did their demo work and said this is the best practice amp I've ever owned and put it on Craigslist the next day, you know.
And I cannot confirm or deny that, but
but I mean, like, you don't have to confirm or deny it because plenty of other people were like seeing this weird thing for a while where, you know, Positive Grid seemed like they were having trouble keeping up with orders because it was a very popular product, but there was always used ones available.
Right.
And again, like I haven't heard it except for your video. I probably should have.
Yeah, we should probably fire it up before you go tonight.
Some time on it.
You can take it home if you want.
I already have a practice amp. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll plug it in and think it's cool and it looks nice.
It might be great for bass.
It's
got enough low end, that's for sure. I don't think you'll notice it being muddy.
I'll plug the pod go into it.
There you go. I need to remember to pull that out for you.
You know, so I don't know what it sounds like, but I know like it's interesting how that hype train builds, and especially with a product that is very popular that a lot of people have questions about. First is like if you did an Affordaboard video and you're like, I just got these 4 pedals from, you know, K-Line or whatever, Kamize or some Amazon Basics, and you're like, this distortion sucks. And everybody is like listening to the video, like, I don't know, it sounds pretty much like any other like DS1 clone or whatever.
Right.
I realize that probably not the best example, DS1
Most
cloning.
affordable distortions are Sure Riot clones.
Yeah, like, oh, it sounds like 80% of a Sure Riot. I don't know what you're hearing, man. It sounds fine. Like, but people aren't going to get like aggressively defensive. Like, people aren't going to be like, well, I bought the Amazon Basics distortion and it was a lot better after I clipped the D9 like diode out of the circuit. Like, nobody thinks that that's an acceptable solution.
Right.
To a $30 pedal. It shouldn't be an acceptable solution for.
You shouldn't have to go to the
something
hardware
pricier.
store and buy a $12 can of spray foam to make your amp sound right. And I'm not going to do a sponsorship for an amp that requires that.
And again, like myself personally, like I don't want to come across as dumping on a product that I haven't used.
Sure.
I thought it sounded chunky. I know you said you turned the bass all the way down and it was still too bassy because that was my thing and the same thing.
Well, I don't even know if you can even say
it sounds really compressed.
It sounds really compressed
like
all the
low
time.
end compressed.
It's like it's this murky mud that you can't get rid of. Even when you turn the bass all the way down, there's this like car with a subwoofer half a mile away sound going all the time.
That's the sound I want, baby.
That's the tone. That's what people want.
Yeah.
They want, the guy down the block bumping hip hop in his lowrider sound.
Oh man.
But there was a funny moment in the video where I actually turned the bass all the way up.
Yeah.
And it did freaky, like, farty noises. Which, like, it's normal to turn the bass up pretty high on a guitar amp and have it not malfunction.
Yeah.
So it's clearly not behaving like a guitar amp, which it shouldn't have. It is a Bluetooth speaker attached to an app. Like, that is the reality of it.
Yeah.
But it still was pretty hilarious. All right, we've talked about it. You know what? This Spark amp stuff has jumped the effing shark. I'm just gonna say it.
Would you get off that Spark amp BS, Ryan? It has jumped the effing shark. I wish I could remember.
Yeah,
all
I mean,
of that.
I wish it was like tattooed on my chest.
with all the emojis.
Yeah, are we doing another ad?
Yeah, this ad was sent by a person.
That's true. Well, I think Robert Wiley.
This is for Walla Walla guitars, presumably in Walla Walla, Washington.
It's not even like a used ad or anything. He suggested we check out this builder, and so I did. And some of this stuff looks really cool. Some of it's not to my taste, but some of it does look really cool. There's some really wild finishes here. And looking at them, the guitars range from $1,300 to $1,500. They're all Telecaster style guitars. Also, these guys make their own version of a Telecaster bridge.
Oh, is that what? So I saw that. I was wondering if that was something that they manufactured or what it was.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's their bridge, and the whole concept is kind of taking the Telecaster tray bridge and making the tray metal edges thicker and rounder to be like a comfort sort of thing.
Interesting.
And they honestly look pretty cool. It doesn't look like they have them on the guitars pictured. So maybe it's like an upgrade option, but it's like $99 for their specific bridge.
Yeah.
But look at this freaky red and blue reptile skin thing.
Oh, this is like kind of hurting my eyes.
Yeah, it looks like a fractal.
It looks like Brad Paisley's Dealio, but like a little bit.
To me, it looks like they're taking a Telecaster and they're routing out a space on the top to put an inlay in, and they're doing various themed inlays. Like there's one here with the Declaration of Independence or the Bill of Rights or whatever on it, and there's one with like skulls lasered into it.
Yeah.
There's one with old like movie or pulp novel posters embedded in it. The one that I really like, the ones that I like are the one that has like they have old crate wood on top. Like there's this one that says high explosive dangerous. And there was one that was like an old Arm & Hammer crate as the top. And I think that's really cool. I was actually, remember Dave Hill? We had him on the podcast.
Yes. Of course I remember Dave Hill.
He published he posted a picture of this box of yams, like the box that you get from that the grocery store gets stocked with, and it had this fun little cartoon of yams on it. And so he went into his merch store. I don't know what he uses, but it has the option to put, designs onto shoes, like a Van style shoe. And he put the yam cartoons on shoes. And it was kind of reminding me of that. Like when I worked in grocery, there were all these really cool, like pieces of art and branding on the sides of the produce crates and stuff like that. I'd love to have a bunch of that stuff on the top of a guitar. And this old Arm & Hammer crate.
Now, the Arm & Hammer crate looks cool.
It looks really cool. And there's some kind of like dates scratched into it, like hand scratched into it for, it looks like it says Kenneth Umberger, 1928 to 1935. And it has all the original stamps on it and stuff. Like my dad has this old crate that he uses as his like kindling box for the fireplace, and it's actually an old film canister crate from like 1960s Hollywood.
Oh.
And I didn't realize that until I was much older and I saw the logo on it. It's like, oh, this is actually like a really cool crate, and it's probably worth money on eBay or whatever.
Do they make their own pickups too?
I don't know, but they all have like these various like some of them have like wood toppers on them and stuff. So there's some sort of customization going on. What I noticed too is a lot of the necks have dramatically flamed maple. Like, look at the maple.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Their necks look freaking great. I guess they use true oil finish on a lot of them, which I think...
like, a lot of these are not my style at all, but some of them, like, hit for me. Like, the skull tree thing, not my style at all.
Not your bag.
It's not my bag, which is fine.
Okay.
But like the explosives one, the Arm & Hammer one, that psychedelic one, even the more simple one that's just like kind of plain wood, I like. Like if the skull tree one didn't have the skull tree on it, like I like that. I dig that kind of like
this one that you said is plain wood is definitely kind of like lumber sexual.
It is very lumber sexual.
It's a barn caster.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like it's a little bit different than a barncaster because it's not just, oh, here's old barnwood. It's got a bit of a different style to it.
Yeah.
Like it's not just trying to be like, oh, we reclaimed wood.
It's kind of got like a funky take on a...
I
don't want to call it a German carve. It's almost like looks like a reverse German carve.
I was about to call that out and say it's the way that they're doing this wood inlay. It leaves a natural binding around it. And I think that's the part that's really catching my eye. I really like the binding aesthetic that's coming from a lot of like this paisley carved one. Mm-hmm. I think that's fun. I think I would want to have the normal like chrome pickups and the chrome control plate on it.
Right. To
break it up a bit. I don't know. I dig it. This builder looks cool to me. The prices seem fair.
Yeah.
The necks, the flames on the necks, I don't usually go for flame, but man, they are just dramatically beautiful. I don't mind the headstock. It looks like they embed some sort of coin or something in the headstock.
Yeah.
Some sort of metal badge.
Like a very Pacific Northwest thing.
Yeah.
You know, Veritas, this company. I don't know if anyone else does it.
I don't know. That's a cool find though. Thanks for sending that, Robert Wiley. Yeah. We look at a lot of ugly guitars and weird guitars on here. It's always fun when you see something that's like, oh, I haven't seen these before. Oh, these are fun. Like themed guitars, they are what they are. You either love them or you hate them. But I think there's a few here that really stand out. How much do they want for the Arm & Hammer one? That's a $1,400 one. The high explosives one is a $1,300 one.
Really? Yeah, that's pretty affordable.
I wonder if the high explosives one, if that is legit from an old crate or if they like reproduced that or something. The Arm & Hammer one looks legit. Like
yeah,
I would be
like the Arm & Hammer one you wouldn't really be able to fake.
If they did fake it, they did a hell of a job because it looks really legit.
Now, are these actually in stock? All in stock right now?
That's what it looked like on the site.
It says sale. Oh, the regular. So the regular prices on all of these ones
Oh,
that are
yeah.
on sale are like in the 20s.
So this is like these are ones they're trying to clear out. So yeah, normally they're like $1,000 more. Or maybe that's like just a sale tactic. Like, oh, normally $2,500, but now you can get it for
maybe.
$13, you know?
Maybe.
They look fun though.
Yeah.
All right. What's next, Steve? The next sponsor?
Just sell, let's see, $1,400. So you just sell like 20 pedals.
I'm not saying I'm going to buy one. I'm just saying that I admire them to look at. This next sponsor is Chase Bliss Audio.
They make the Warp Vinyl. They make the Gravitas. They make the Tonal Recall, the Dark World, the Blooper, the Mood, the Bliss Factory.
The
sometimes. The Therme. That's the one I was forgetting.
They posted on their Instagram a while back one of their employees' personal warped vinyls. And they took a piece of actual vinyl record and made a topper for it.
Is it warped vinyl or just...
It was regular unwarped vinyl. I'm sorry, Steve. But it looked really, really sharp. And for a second, I thought they were announcing a new product.
Oh, man.
I was like, oh, man, what is that? And then I realized it was just a warped vinyl with this vinyl cover on it. I was like, that does look really cool. And didn't have any text or anything, so you'd really have to memorize what the pedal does. But it looked really, really sharp. Yeah. Someone should do that as an aftermarket thing. Make vinyl toppers for warped vinyls. But then maybe like laser etch in the controls.
There you go.
The labels on there.
Anyway, Chase Bliss Audio, they make pedals more creative than you are with a digital brain and an analog heart.
Except for the Dark World. That's digital and digital.
Robot all the way through.
Yeah.
I didn't name off the Automatone series.
Yeah.
The Preamp Mark II and the CXM 1978. Those are also Chase Bliss pedal collabo jobos. Go check them out, man.
Collabo jobos?
ChaseBlissAudio.com.
Yep.
Tell them
Steve sent you.
Davy Crockett sent you. All right. This next topic, Ryan, find that topic.
Oh, I've got it right here.
Cool.
From Joel Brodeau. I hope I said your name right.
I was just like Broder.
Broder? I tried to say it all French.
I know.
I don't know. I never took a French class when I was in high school, so I'm just guessing.
Read the topic, okay?
Stirring the pot here, but why are most guitars being built? Are either Strat copies, Tele copies, Les Paul copies, and copies of other Fender or Ernie Ball offsets. I'm not sure what he means about that. No one else has.
Pretty sure Joel's a woman, but
like no one else has an original idea in their heads. It's boring as F saying the same guitar copies over and over again. There are plenty of builders not making copies of oft-cop bodies like Rickenbacker, been around 90 years, and my new favorite builder, Millimetric Instruments. So that's a big question. Why are we seeing Strats, Telecasters, Les Pauls? I don't know what she meant by the offset Ernie balls. Maybe.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that one out too, but that's fine.
I can't think of an Ernie ball. I think
I can't say like the Axis is kind of like the EVH Ernie balls are definitely passed around.
Yeah, I think that shape gets copied fairly regularly, but that's more of like them trying to copy Van Halen looks. And I don't think of that guitar as an offset, so I'm not sure what she means. But yeah, like offsets, offsets in general get copied a lot. Like the Jazzmaster shape has become ubiquitous, and like all sorts of brands make that shape.
Right.
I think the shortest answer as to why Strats, Teles, Les Pauls, offsets get copied so much,
right,
is because people buy them.
Well, yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. The other part of it is, I think the body. That's huge.
Yeah, every company Gibson makes Strat style guitars. They have at different points in their history.
Fender has made Gibson style guitars. Like the old Fender Esprits in the 80s. They don't do it, or like when they did the D-Armin / Squier like M70 and 75 and whatever
go to the grocery store and look at how much just white bread there is on this shelf. multiple brands, and each brand stocked just piles of white or even just like regular wheat sandwich bread, that is the thing that sells the most. So of course every brand covers that.
Do you buy white? Do you buy white bread?
I buy it for my
Do
family.
you buy like buttermilk or potato?
Well, I buy the wheat bread that is the white bread style, like the sandwich bread. But I buy the $1.50 sandwich bread for my family, so my kids can have peanut butter sandwiches and stuff like that. But then you go over to another section of the grocery store or of the bakery department, and it's like you can buy individual loaves of like some sort of rosemary olive oil bread or whatever, which is great too. But there's a lot less of it because it's not the ubiquitous standard thing everyone wants just to make a sandwich with. It's not the safe choice. It's the thing people buy when they start to get more picky or they want a bread adventure. And it's the same thing with guitars, you know?
Right. But I mean, you know, I think to an extent you also have a number of small builders who are making their version of that thing.
Sure.
You know, I'm kind of blanking on it, but you know, everybody's got either a Strat or Super Strat kind of a, like you said, like, maybe it's a little different. Maybe it's a lot different. I feel like there's a number of small builders who kind of have offset Super Strats. I feel like that's a thing, especially for like companies that are making like 7-string extended range.
Sure.
Kind of like this melty Stratocaster thing. But I think that's probably 90% of it is, like you said, it sells.
Like a company can pay their bills, can pay their employees by making Strats and Telecasters and Les Pauls.
There's probably a 5% that's like trying to do something semi-unique, but also...
I mean, with the example of Millimetric, like
Millimetric is just completely in a league of its own.
Right, but I think there are a lot of small builders that do that thing that's like, we have our very own unique style.
Right.
And this is so completely different from everyone else that they really stand on their own.
Yeah. And some of them are doing styles that are definitely throwback-ish in a way that's, I'm thinking of like Frank Brothers. Like the Frank Brothers design is very, it's definitely different, I think.
I mean, it's
reminiscent of, like, to me, a Gretsch Projet double cut.
Oh, absolutely. It is definitely in that direction, but they have changed that concept enough that I look at a Frank Brothers guitar and it's like, it is a Frank Brothers guitar only. It is not something else.
I wouldn't say it's a copy of a Projet. I'm saying it's in the vein.
Totally.
It gives you like old Gretsch vibe.
They didn't reinvent the wheel, but they landed on a style. They engineered a style that it's amazing. It's beautiful, honestly.
And I mean so that's like 90% is what's going to sell. 5% is probably a number of companies that want to do their own thing, and then the other 5% is in the case of Fender and Gibson. They did try. You think about like Gibson in the 70s was known for this, and even like I don't know if they were in on it, but they definitely get brought up in it. Is Fender. Where they were basically only able in the U.S. to say, our headstock is what we own. Our headstock is our trademark.
The body shapes got away from them legally because too many other companies copied those shapes, and Fender didn't stop it soon enough.
So like,
or they didn't have the ability to stop it.
What they call the quote like lawsuit era is really Fender and Gibson. And I don't know, again, I don't know how much actual legal action there was versus like threats thereof. But basically they were just trying to say, we want this headstock, and they weren't actually able to protect the bodies.
Right.
They want, in the case of Gibson, the open scroll or rather open book headstock. In the case of Fender, whatever the hell they call that Strat bulb.
Right.
The opposite of that, I guess, is like Rickenbacker. I always want to say Rickenbacker. That was the fighter pilot, right?
Rick Backer.
Rickenbacker. Shut up.
Richard Backer.
All right, so Rickenbacker is like notorious for like basically, I think the
they've been very litigious from the beginning.
The Schecter has a model that is like the closest I've seen to a modern production Rick style guitar from a major manufacturer. I don't know if they still make it, but it's definitely not a Rickenbacker clone. It's just got like the giant pickguard.
It's got a big
thing going
It's got
on.
a big wink at you, like, hey.
Yeah, I don't even
know what we're doing.
I don't even
here.
know if they still make it.
Yeah, well, Harley Benton, Thoman's house brand, makes a 6-string and a 12-string that is very clearly trying to do a Rickenbacker thing without completely doing it. And I think the only reason they're able to get away with it is because they are attached to a massive retailer that Rickenbacker probably couldn't go toe-to-toe with legally.
Right.
And they're in Germany. So there's an international element to it as well.
Oh, yeah. Possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that Schecter is made anymore.
Probably not. Steve is doing some Google foo right now to try to figure it out.
It wasn't. It apparent. Oh, here it is. The Stargazer.
Oh yeah, that's totally trying to do a Rick thing.
It's got the vibes, but it's a totally different shape. It's just got those vibes because they use like I think the one this particular one is basically like a day glow burst.
Basically.
Shut up. they made guitars too, not in the same shape.
Right.
Guitarically,
Maybe someday there will be. Maybe the copyrights will finally lapse on Rickenbacker.
Well, I think as long as it's
Rickenbacker.
I think as long as it's in active production.
Every business fails eventually.
Every rose has a thorn.
Can we think of any guitar shapes? I mean, obviously, all those small builders we mentioned, like the Millimetrics and the what is Baronic? Is that how you pronounce the name?
Yeah, Baronic. Yeah,
they have their very unique shapes that we think of it as clearly owned by them. And if you saw some budget company trying to copy those shapes, you'd be like, hey, that's not okay. Where you don't get that when you see a budget company copy a Strat or even a Les Paul or even an SG. I mean, JC at Gibson gets upset, but I think the consumer doesn't care. But when you think about those smaller companies, like if I saw like a budget copy of a Millimetric, I'd be like, oh man, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, no, that's true. So
why is that? Why do we have that division in our psyche?
Well, I think it's just because of
is it like it's too new? Like those shapes are too new and too iconic for a singular brand? Like you have to admit,
I think we're willing to look past it because of that, and I think, yeah, there is something to be said about ubiquity and there is something, to be said about, in a lot of ways, I always feel like the car industry is, though there's not, I can't think of any, like what I would think of, what's the car equivalent of,
I think like a
Cower.
No, like you think of like a Strat as like a Civic. Like every car company has their version of a Civic, if you think about it. Like an economy 4-door, where like a Cower is probably closer to like a Tesla.
Right.
It is a sedan, but it is like it's instantly recognizable as like something more special than your run-of-the-mill sedan.
And once you've played 300 miles worth get 300 miles worth of playing on the fretboard, you have to plug it in.
And me comparing a Cower to a sedan isn't saying like a Cower is a sedan. It's not a sexy car. What I'm saying is that like they use shapes that are familiar,
right?
But they're tweaked in a way where they become something more iconic and more specific to that brand. Where like you see a Tesla and you're not like, oh, they could be a Civic, or it might be like a a Malibu or something like that.
Definitely I would say the current shape Civic, I have trouble distinguishing from like Hyundai Elantras.
Right, exactly. Like it's a genre of build.
I think same thing with like the current Corolla and like maybe not the current one, but there are definitely like years of Corollas and years of Sentras I have trouble telling.
Oh yeah, totally.
If I'm just seeing it on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My Wish. No, my Nissan Sentra is definitely my Wish.com version of the Civic that got trashed in an accident.
Right.
Is what I could afford with that insurance money.
I think there's definitely a big part of that, and I think that's also where, so many companies. It's interesting the things too. Like you mentioned ubiquity. Like, basically any guitar I see, unless they're doing something really nutty with like the pick guard. I never actually felt this way about like Ibanez Talmans, but there are a lot of companies out there that do a completely unique, or at least relatively unique body shape, and they slap in a white pick guard with 3 single coil pickups, and all I can see is Stratocaster.
Right.
And it's interesting. Like, I don't feel that way about dual humbucker guitars. Like, I don't really. I mean, there's some designs that.
But yeah, you see a Strat layout or you see a Tele layout, and you're like, well, that's just what that guitar is now.
Yeah.
It's a Strat or a Telecaster.
Yeah, and for what it's like, I mean, I guess the Tallman series from the '90s is just in this weird like.
Yeah.
Is it a surf guitar? Like the 2 pickup Tallmans, I'm like, this is a really cool take on a Telecaster. But then the 3 pickup Tallmans, I'm like, I don't know. What
that goes.
Is this a Jag?
Goes back to the fact that they make those because they'll sell. People want that specific genre of guitar because it is so popular. It is a safe option. Like, oh yeah, I like music that's made with Telecasters. I'm going to buy this guitar with a Telecaster loadout. Another, like, rewinding back to different shapes that we don't see copied cheap. Like, I remembered a couple, like airline guitars.
Yeah.
You don't see those copied cheap because that's another body shape. That's another brand that is still under protected copyright. Right. Vox Phantoms is a really interesting case. You don't see copies of Vox Phantoms or the Teardrop guitars. You don't see them from Vox because Vox lost the copyright and trademark.
So who actually has it?
A company here in California called Phantom Guitar Works bought the copyrights and trademarks to those guitars. So now Vox can't even make their original shapes. This company called Phantom makes them.
That's okay. Vox can make all those like Les Paul copies. the SC 550s.
I think Vox would have to license those shapes from Phantom Guitar Works to make those shapes again. I'm sure they probably don't even care.
Yeah.
They probably don't want to make
because
Phantom
they're
shapes.
such a small market segment because again,
right. But like
people make Strat copies because they can and because they sell.
If those copyrights or trademarks or whatever they are weren't being defended actively, you could see all kinds of brands coming out with airline shapes or with Supro shapes or with those vintage Vox Phantom and Teardrop shapes. There's a lot of guitar styles that, like it or not, are still under their copyright protection.
You know what I want, Ryan?
What?
I want in the comments people to say what body shape that they want to see. Maybe make a comeback.
Enter into the public domain.
Enter in the public domain where, you know, obviously like we've said, like Les Paul, SGs actually kind of aren't. No one really makes an SG copy.
ESP makes the Viper.
But the Viper's an offset SG. Like it's definitely its own thing.
I think, but
you think it's close enough?
I think it's close enough.
I'm saying like I would say like the ESP Eclipse is almost exactly a Les Paul.
Sure.
I would say that the Viper is an homage to an SG.
I wonder if the copyrights lapsing or not being defendable on Les Pauls, Strats, Telecasters, Jazzmasters, etc., has something to do with their popularity. Like now every brand can make those shapes, and in doing so are effectively advertising for the original manufacturer.
In a way, I mean, I'm sure that's the case.
Like every other...
Do you think Fender is benefiting from Ibanez RG sales?
I don't know about that directly because Ibanez has become its own thing, its own flavor. But every cheap copy that you see of a Strat ideologically points back to Fender and reminds you of Fender actively, where you're like, yeah, this is a cheap version of this that I can get. But if I had the money, I'd be getting a Fender.
Yeah.
Because this is obviously I'm buying a Strat right now. Obviously that's what I'm doing. It's almost like I am willing to theorize right now that those copyrights being non-defendable greatly contributed to just how popular those shapes are and how big those brands actually are, where maybe it was a positive for them.
Oh yeah. Net positive.
Yeah.
I can see that. Though from reading that Squier book, I know they do mention that at least in the 70s when like Tokai, Ibanez, those kind of Greco were making all of those Fender copies, that it was like definitely cutting into Fender's bottom line, like at a big enough chunk pace. But maybe that's not the case anymore because, you know, Fender has reestablished itself as kind of the premier builder, and they have their budget line with Squier, and they have their mid and high tiers.
Well, yeah, they had their if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
Revelation with Squier
like
and everything else.
What I like to hear, like you mentioned the Vox Phantom bodies and the Vox teardrops. I wanted to see what other kind of body shapes people would like to see kind of in this mass production popularity.
Someone sent me a link to a Chinese copy of, like an import copy of a Dan Armstrong acrylic guitar.
I feel like those actually pop up a lot. Like there's a few brands like Jay Terser, I think, makes one. Those kind of brands.
BC Rich has been in flux for years and years now.
Yeah.
As far as like what products they're making, who owns them, what their direction is as either being budget or high end.
Yeah.
It would be interesting if in our lifetime BC Rich just failed to exist and all those shapes entered the public domain.
I think so the last time I looked it up, I think BC Rich still exists as like an extremely limited, like, and I think it's like Bernie Rico guitars or something, like extremely high end. And then, what you find in the metal section at Guitar Center.
When we started this podcast, BC Rich was still being manufactured as like a budget brand.
Right.
Then at one point it sold and it became like they were trying to reboot it as like a mid-tier, like $700, $900 guitar brand. And then it sold again, or either they changed directions on it. And now it is like very specific higher end stuff.
It's so weird.
It is really, it's been a weird trajectory, and it just seems like it's very unstable. And I could see it eventually just being abandoned.
Right.
And those designs, those ideas, those shapes becoming public domain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which would be wild if you think about it. You kind of think about BC Rich as like kind of being a joke, but they're not.
They've been around for a long, like what, 50,
like a lot,
40 years, 50 years.
People don't realize it, but like the Warlock and like the Bitch and the Mockingbird shape are like 60s designs. Like they originated in the 60s. Like we don't think about that because they like really grabbed hold in the late 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that right. Like I saw a picture like, oh, the original 1960s build of these BC Riches. I cannot believe these were in the 60s, maybe early 70s, but it was older. It was much older than I would have assumed. Like I would have assumed like 77 at first.
The company was founded in 1969.
Nice. So then, maybe some of these shapes came out of the very early 70s. Or if it was founded in 69, maybe he already had some designs that he had made. Yeah, this is the exciting part of a podcast where Steve reads something and I watch him read it.
The Bitch was first made, it looks like, in 1974.
Still has early.
This is like a weird. The Warlock is 1981. Ironbird was 83.
Okay.
That's kind of all they have on Wikipedia. A lot of those earlier models, they don't really.
I remember seeing some photo that was dated way earlier than I thought it should be of some very early BC Rich guitars. So I could be wrong. Sorry, guys. I've taken you on a misadventure here. I don't know how much of that is right, but I am having this memory. We don't need to figure it out now. Let's move on, Steve.
Well, and to your point, they have this is an 82 Eagle, and it's got those like big Alembic vibes.
Right.
This is a 79. Even for like 79, like I feel like they're pretty.
They kind of went through the Grateful Dead phase with some of their builds.
Yeah, that's a good. I think they're more in that vein. I don't know. I've never seen. I don't know. Find the thing you're talking about.
I'm gonna have to try to find it. Maybe it was a fever dream that I had.
I definitely think of them as being like a late 70s.
But still, like
I associate BC Rich with Kiss for some reason.
Founded in 69.
Yeah.
One of those shapes, at least, came out of the mid-early 70s. And that still feels too early because you look at BC Rich and you think neon 80s.
Yeah.
Or like black on black metal, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Pointy, spiky metal.
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Let's talk about the next thing. You already talking about the next thing?
Let's talk about the next thing.
The next thing is housekeeping. If you'd like to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/60cyclehomecast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can support the show. You can help Ryan pay for the next time he decides to put a new coat of paint on this wall.
I mean, the big thing is the Patreon funds are paying for my travel.
Yeah.
To Nashville.
It's going to pay for all of the shipping that I do. Soon.
Yeah, pays for shipping.
It's going to pay for all the food that I ate 3 hours ago.
Huge thanks to our Patreons. You really are the grease that keeps this engine running. There's a lot of costs involved with a lot of the content that we make, and the Patreon funds make it possible, because otherwise we would have to take it out of the money that we use to pay ourselves, and that's not right. No, like it would make this make way less sense if we didn't have the Patreons.
Just head over there.
Yeah, I don't think we would still be doing the show if we didn't have Patreons. Like, that's the reality of it. So huge thanks to the Patreons. Last ad?
This was sent by Greg
Dodd. I can't talk. Greg Dodd.
Drum table listed a week ago in Swift Current, Saskatchewan. That's a cool name, I guess.
Yeah.
It's drum table.
Oh, are you saying drum table is a cool name, or Swift Current is a cool name?
Swift Current is a cool name.
Okay, yeah. Because drum table is not a cool name. I'm gonna say, like, this is like some sort of high tom that's been converted into a table. But there's so much table that you would barely notice the drum unless you were looking for it. I want more drum in my drum table, less table in my drum table, please. Like if they had just gotten a floor tom, it's almost a table anyways. You get a floor tom, you put like a piece of plexiglass over the top. Now you have a table.
I can't really tell what's going on here. I almost feel like this might be the low tom, like a small floor tom.
I don't think so.
There's something.
It looks like a big high tom to me.
All right.
But they've done too much. It's got a big, thick wooden top on it.
You can't even tell it's a drum.
The legs.
You can tell it's a table.
You can tell it's a table, obviously. I don't think most people would catch that it was a drum unless they really looked at it for a couple minutes. For like they gave it a hard look. Like, okay, I think there's a drum under there.
They won't realize it's a drum until they are like eating there, and then they spill something on the ground, and so they go to pick it up. Oh, dang, drum.
The legs are really weird. Like, they're really bulky.
All my beverage is going to sound so good on mic.
And they stick out from the drum. I think this is a big problem. They stick out from the drum. It looks like maybe 3 or 4 inches.
Yeah.
And they hide the drum itself.
They're trying to make like a really stylistic drum leg, when in reality they should have just used drum legs.
Exactly. They should have used a drum stand. The problem is that drum stands are more expensive than making custom wooden legs.
No, I definitely agree with you on like acrylic top, or if you want to use a wood top, like make it just the size of the drum. Right.
And I make fun of guitar lamps a lot, but like any drum is a shoe-in to be a lamp.
If you're a drummer, do you need a drum table to remind you that you love drums?
Also, like, I can understand like a guitar, even though I hate it, a guitar being broken in a way or being non-functional in a way where it's like, let's turn this into a lamp. Let's turn this into furniture.
Yeah.
Is there anything about a high tom that would make it no longer functional as a drum, but still functional as a table? Like this could still be a high tom. It doesn't have to be a table.
Yeah.
What did they say what they want? They want $25 for it, down from 50. That might, you know what? Honestly, that's a cheap high tom. So if you're looking for a high tom, just buy this table and take the table stuff off of it.
Well, for what it's worth, it kind of looks like
it's worth $25, Steve.
The legs are attached to where your actual drum legs would be, so you wouldn't be able to attach any hardware to this.
I think you could take the legs off and reattach hardware to it.
You can try. But
you can try. You can try.
You ready to do the song?
Do the song, Steve. Get us out of here.
Hold on. 1 minute, 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 50 seconds. That's what I'll say.
Don't worry, guys. The show will continue as soon as Steve is done taking notes.
Man, my iPad really got drained. All right, this song was sent by Matt Chapin.
Thanks, Matt.
He says, Matt here from Dialogue again. First of all, you read me to filth for sending so many emails, and I'm very okay with it. To Ryan's point, you did ask for this. So here I am again, as requested. This is another track off of our Permanent Things EP. Very excited. Do you to give it a spin. Keep up the amazing content. Here we go.
I think it's intentionally panned.
Which you mix down to mono so no one else will know.
What you wanted? Did you get what you wanted? In your dream home, but your house is haunted. In your dream home, but your house is haunted. Did you get what you wanted? Did you get what you wanted? Did you get what you wanted? Get what you wanted, get what you wanted.
Yes.
We did get what we wanted. Thank you.
Got this song. Thanks, Matt.
Really great production on that. It sounds like a full-on song. Like you could play that on the radio and I wouldn't blink. What do you think,
would
Steve?
probably change the station.
I probably would. I don't really like pop punk. That is what that is, right?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, it has that pop punk sort of vocal thing going on. So that's why I judge it as pop punk. Sorry if you don't consider yourself pop punk. I'm not trying to harm you.
They're probably like, no, we're emo.
No, they're probably like, we are pop punk. Thank you.
Yeah.
Loud and proud pop punkers through and through.
I like it.
Steve likes it. Steve likes it. Now, I thought I can appreciate that it is very well done. It's just not the style of music I would choose to listen to on my own. And that's fine. All right. Bye, everyone.
Stay grounded.